This is untold Black history, not because the knowledge was lost, but because it was buried. Here are 6 Black inventors whose inventions were taken then erased. You know the light bulb. You know the telephone. But do you know the Black man who helped make them usable? Latimer changed the world quietly, completely, and history nearly erased him. Lewis was born in 1848 to George and Rebecca Latimer, formerly enslaved people who escaped to Boston. His father's freedom became a national legal battle. That fight for dignity and independence shaped everything Lewis became. At 15, he joined the Navy during the Civil War because he believed in protecting what his family had earned. After the war, Lewis took a job as an office assistant at a patent law firm. The top-paid men were draftsmen, so he taught himself mechanical drawing at night, page by page, mistake by mistake. Eventually, he became the firm's head draftsman. No degree, no permission, just determination. He drew the technical patent for Alexander Graham Bell's first telephone. Later, he improved Edison's light bulb, developing a longer-lasting carbon filament that made it practical for everyday use. Without Latimer, the light bulb didn't last. He wrote the first book on electric lighting and helped install the first electric streetlights in New York, Philadelphia, and Montreal, serving as a lead engineer and supervisor. While barred from enjoying many of its public spaces, his story isn't loud, but it should be known. Because greatness rarely comes with applause. Often, it comes with discipline, vision, and light. Patricia Bath was only 6 when her mother gave her a cheap toy chemistry set, the spark that would one day light up eyes around the world. Years later, fresh out of Howard's medical school, Dr. Bath walked into Harlem Hospital and saw the hidden epidemic. Entire Black communities going blind from diseases no one bothered to treat. Doctors told her blindness was inevitable for those people. Patricia refused to believe it. During her internship, she noticed that at Harlem Hospital, about half the patients were blind or visually impaired, while at Columbia, just a few miles away, there were very few blind patients. She saw clear evidence that the high rates of blindness in Black communities were not due to fate, but to lack of access to proper eye care. At night, she worked on ideas. What if a beam of light could do what a blade could not? When U.S. hospitals turned her away, she packed her notes and flew to Europe, spending her savings to prove she was right. In 1986, her idea became real, the Laserfico probe, a device that used laser precision to dissolve cataracts without pain. One day, she treated a woman who hadn't seen the world for 30 years. When the bandages came off, the woman wept at the sight of her grandchildren. The same tool U.S. gatekeepers mock now restores vision on every continent, millions of eyes opened by one woman's refusal to close hers. Patricia Bath didn't just restore sight, she used her brilliance and lived experience as a Black woman to push back against injustice, leveling the playing field not just for patients of color, but for the world. Her invention helped millions, but her motivation was personal. Do you believe the best breakthroughs come from pain and purpose? Share in the comments. Imagine a man who dared to reveal the genius of Black inventors when the world tried to silence them. Meet Henry Baker. Born in 1857, Baker grew up in Washington, D.C., and became one of the first Black cadets at the U.S. Naval Academy in 1874. But relentless racism, physical violence, vandalism, and isolation from the white cadets forced him to leave before graduating. Undeterred, he turned his focus to law and advocacy. In 1877, Baker joined the U.S. Patent Office as a copyist. He noticed Black inventors were invisible in official records. Determined to change this, he began sending thousands of letters to uncover their names and achievements. However, many feared revealing their identities due to their businesses being devalued and violence such as lynchings. Baker's work wasn't just about documentation. It was about challenging racist myths that claimed Black Americans were incapable of innovation. His findings were showcased at international exhibitions like the Paris Exposition in 1900. Baker compiled 4 large volumes of patent drawings to preserve their legacy. A volume remains housed at Howard University. Meet Sarah E. Goode, a pioneering inventor who became one of the first Black American women to receive a U.S. patent. Born to enslaved parents in 1850, her father was a carpenter. At age 15, Sarah gained her freedom at the end of the Civil War. She moved to Chicago with her family, where she met and married Archibald Goode, a carpenter and upholsterer. Together, They opened a furniture store. Sarah and Archibald's furniture store crafted and sold quality pieces catered to working-class customers. Witnessing families struggling with limited space in their apartments, Sarah envisioned the solution that would maximize living areas without sacrificing comfort. In 1885, Sarah patented her innovative folding cabinet bed, which transformed from a bed into a roll-top desk. Her invention gained popularity among city residents, solidifying her reputation as an innovator in furniture design. Sarah Goode's folding cabinet bed was a precursor to today's Murphy beds, symbolizing her lasting impact on furniture design. Let us remember her as a trailblazer who turned challenges into opportunities. What if I told you a black man without a college degree saved millions of lives, but few people even know his name? Otis Boykin was born in 1920 in a modest Dallas, Texas home to parents of limited means. Otis lost his mother, Sarah, who died of heart failure before his first birthday. The tragedy of her passing would later inspire his life's work. Otis grew up determined and focused, excelling in school and eventually becoming valedictorian of his high school class. His mother's passing from heart failure motivated him to invent technologies that would help save lives, including crucial components for the pacemaker. Too poor to finish Fisk University, Boykin refused to stop learning. He worked jobs by day and invented by night, building a lab with his own hands. In a world where white engineers had opened doors, Boykin had to build his own, creating a resistor so durable and cheap it powered everything from TVs to missiles. Then he did the impossible, inventing a control unit that made pacemakers safer, reliable, and affordable, turning his mother's tragedy into millions of heartbeats. Companies took his ideas, paid him pennies, but they couldn't take his legacy. A black inventor who gave the world better life through pure brilliance. Today, every heartbeat powered by a pacemaker carries Otis Boykin's dream. Proof that talent, grit, and purpose breaks open closed doors. Do you think Otis Boykin's genius would have been celebrated or stolen if he hadn't been black? Drop your honest thoughts below. Before the Red Cross built a billion-dollar blood supply system, there was a black man they rarely mention in schools. Dr. Charles Drew, the father of modern blood banking, made it possible to store blood safely, move it where it was needed, and save millions of lives. But here's the part they leave out. The same America that depended on his genius once told him his people's blood wasn't good enough. Charles Drew was born in 1904 in segregated Washington, D.C. He didn't inherit power, he built it. At Amherst College, he was one of just 13 black students out of 600. When tuberculosis took his younger sister's life, Drew didn't break, he committed himself to medicine. He taught biology and coached at Morgan College, then crossed the border to McGill University in Canada because black brilliance often had to find freedom outside America's walls. Back then, when people needed blood, they had to find a donor on the spot. If they couldn't, they often died. There was no safe way to store blood or move it where it was needed. At Columbia University, Drew's research changed that forever. His doctoral thesis, Bank Blood, laid out the process for safely collecting, storing, and transporting blood. Then he invented a refrigerated truck that made blood drives mobile and accessible to thousands. When World War II erupted, Britain faced massive blood shortages. Drew led the Blood for Britain project, organizing over 14,500 donations and sending 5,000 liters of plasma to save soldiers and civilians. He proved plasma could be separated from whole blood, stored longer, and used for transfusions without matching blood types, a breakthrough for emergency medicine. But while Drew's science saved thousands, the same system that used his ideas shut him out. The American Red Cross, which still dominates the blood industry today, barred black people from donating. When they finally accepted black donors, they segregated the blood by race. Drew called this policy exactly what it was: unscientific and insulting. He resigned from his leadership role rather than lend his name to a lie. Drew did not disappear in protest. He invested in what mattered most: black minds. At Howard University, he led the Department of Surgery and trained a generation of black surgeons who carried his legacy forward. The Red Cross today calls itself a nonprofit, but blood is still big business. Hospitals pay for testing, storage, and supply using the system Drew designed. Billions have moved through the veins of this industry, yet his name is left out of the story. If you believe these truths need to be told, tell us in the comments. That's Untold Black History, not just random facts and dates, but true American history. Uncover more of our real stories by clicking the next list on the screen.